At the height of Tarkov's supremacy in the era of extraction shooters, Marauders took flight. Promised as a casual take on a genre so fixated on grit, for the layman, Marauders seemed like the obvious choice in pastimes with friends for people who hadn't quite been gripped by the style's difficulty and realism. This is when me and my friends got the game. Now initially, we absolutely ground this game to the bone, playing almost non-stop trying to get to grips with the game's mechanics, style, and missions. Now, this was just before the game's peak in popularity, so in general the player base was along the same skill level as us, with the occasional god-tier player demolishing all of us in a few shots. Eventually though, as these things go, with me working full-time and my friend's equally busy schedule, we just couldn't keep up. And before long, the game was dominated by Twitch streamers and tryhards, and every game we jumped into got ruined by people who seemed to play the game religiously. After 20 straight games of this, constantly losing money as we went, I'm sure you can see why we all collectively uninstalled. Then, a few months later, one of our friends brought up the game in passing, and we all forgot why we stopped playing. Next thing I knew, we were all playing again. The thing is, the game had already fallen out of popularity at this point, and the player base was stretched thin. Normally this would be a bad thing, but games were still easy to find and the hardcores were mysteriously few and far between, leaving us in the core community of this game. Now is a good time to mention that the original Marauders player base was a weird one. The semi-casual but still difficult nature of this game brought a very specific type of player. Still focused on getting good gear, but not hell-bent on ruining other people's day. Some of the interactions I had in this game were incredible, with the community fostering more of an ask questions first as opposed to a shoot first mentality that was brought by the Twitch streamers and Tarkov players. Instead of talking broadly about the community and some experiences I had, I'll just tell one story. Me and two friends jumped into a raid, landed in the airlock, and began as usual. Then, after peeking around a corner, friend 1's head gets absolutely destroyed by some stacked Chad with a World War II light machine gun. Then, instead of a sudden rush as expected, we hear panic over the comms, telling us to halt. Me being the excitable idiot that I am, I shout that violence isn't the answer and we're all in the hood together. After a short discussion about morality and fear, one thing led to another and my remaining friend and I found ourselves teaming up with the group that had just ruined our friend. This would have gone great had some Twitch streamer not ruined our vibe by ignoring our pleas for negotiation and going for some clippable kill. Now most stories from this go with the game are along these lines. I was taken hostage more times than I can count and took more hostages than I could count, with pretty much all of these interactions being absolutely hilarious. I'm not sure what changed after this in regards to the game's popularity, but eventually Twitch streamers came back along with the Tarkov player base, and suddenly the game was ruined yet again, as instead of funny player interactions, every time you used the mic, players would silently use this as another way to try and hunt you down for more gear and more kills. I do find it ironic that the shooter part of extraction shooter is kind of what ruined the game for us, but the part of the community that focused purely on this is pretty much the reason we all ended up uninstalling and not going back to the game. And looking at the recent reviews, it doesn't look like we're alone, with one review really resonating the sad reality of this game's descent. The review reads, "It was great, for months. Maybe a little longer than a year, then the ruiners came. And now the game is underplayed and dead. It's very sad. Get good? Yeah, against who? The attitude of the tryhard community chased off 100% of the casual and new blood players. Good job. You all won the game to yourselves in only 2 years." It was so good though. It almost made me buy Tarkov before that went downhill too. Only now I started to wonder how the game actually lives up now that I've decided to become a Tarkov scrub, so I reinstalled. And it's just not the same. I feel torn, however. I'm not sure if the game's changed or if I've changed, but the game just isn't fun anymore. The silent players are rife, with the only person I've heard speak saying "way" after getting a headshot on me. Yeah. And moreover, the game itself just isn't enjoyable. The shooting feels both clunky and weightless, which is impressive in its own right, as much as it is depressing. The maps are also samey. I understand there's only so much you can really do to spice up a diesel punk extraction shooter set on space stations, but having every map being some variation on grey corridors with either a prison, mine, or space station coat of paint still isn't exactly the most appealing thing in the world. Again though, it's not like much has actually changed apart from the community, as most of the recent reviews actually reflect. So maybe it is me. Maybe the mechanics and the depth of recent games I've played Tarkov have ruined this game for me, but that's not to say I don't miss it. I miss the setting, I miss the fun, and most of all, I miss the community. The casual, scared masses that are actually willing to negotiate instead of playing like murderous AI with max level gear. Gone are the hostage situations, gone are the funny conversations, and gone is the goofy aspect of people being people. It's ironic, really. The more a game gains popularity, specifically through Twitch and YouTube, the less it becomes the game that got popular. People see clips of funny situations and great kills and think, I can do that. Then the sweaty minority come in and decide to be the best. But I don't think that was ever really the point of Marauders. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just coping. I just hope one day it can get back to that. After all, the game is unbelievably individual, and the mechanics that go into it can be really fun. The diesel punk setting that I ripped on earlier is actually pretty great. The mechanics revolving around space, like finding crates floating around the place, makes making money easy, taking the weight off Twitch-related deaths. And the toned-down realism makes it really approachable for new players. I compared the game to Tarkov earlier, but it really is different in its own right and has its own place. I guess that comparison in a way is what ruined the game for so long, because after looking back it wasn't really meant to be played like it. I guess we'll just have to wait to endure the cliffhanger and see where this game ends up in a few months. After all, the best times I had in this game were when the sweats got bored and all that was left were people who genuinely enjoyed it.
Yeah, we're done.
Alright, sick.
I'm gonna check the